Welcome to Good Books Lately. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Taylor, and today we are tackling 5 goals that we have as it relates to reading in 2025.
Yeah, for next year. For this year.
Yes.
Because it is the
It is already 2025. Crazy. We were talking about this. Everybody's doing goal videos.
We're
all
jumping
the
on
New
that
Year's
train.
resolutions, all the goals that you have. And so we were thinking like, okay, well, if we're going to do goals, because, setting goals, and this isn't really like goals. It's just more like things that you want to like do or focus on. Yeah. I feel like calling them goals.
Right.
I don't know. It's not like that. But these are some things that we would like to kind of keep in the back of our minds as we go forth as readers in the year 2025.
Remember.
Because to help guide
our reading journey.
Because we became really serious readers
this year. Yeah.
And so we're starting a whole year fresh.
Yeah.
So we each have 5. The thing is, here's the catch. I don't know what Brandon's are, and he doesn't know what mine are. We kind of created our 5 separately, and we're going to share them right here.
We're going to vote at the end who did it best.
Right.
Kidding.
You heard it here first. And we think that you might, these might resonate with you.
Oh, I don't think they're going to be
not.
Any kind of life-changing.
Yeah, this isn't anything like that. This is just more like some, we're just shooting the bowl.
Shooting the shit.
I put Bailey's in my coffee. And man, oh man, I will go first with my first goal. How about I have this open and ready to go so the folks at home. Okay, here we are.
Okay.
Look at that, reading goals. Number 1. I thought about this because whenever we play video games, we're playing The Witcher 3 right now, which you'll notice some Witcher 3 ambiance on the TV. Yeah, that's like our 3rd playthrough. 2nd.
Full one.
This doesn't matter. When we play this game, you can develop what's called loot lust, which is where you are trying to find all the little secret hidden treasures in the chests and the logs.
Alchemy mode! I have got
stuff. And then you become overburdened because Geralt has too much in his pack, all this stuff.
Too many horses in his pocket.
But you have to loot everything. You have to always be looting. Because
ABL, baby.
ABL, because you have to sell that stuff or dismantle it or something. And that's what, you have to do these things.
Gotta accumulate your wealth.
Very important. And I get really bad loot lust. But you always say, like, always be looting.
Yeah.
I was thinking about...
Always be reading.
That whole thing I just said is very loosely tied to my goal. But we can start with always be reading.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is placing more emphasis on the intention of always reading something and less on how many things you have read.
Right.
And so I feel like it's much... Like, if you can only read... one book because it takes you one whole year to finish, like, I don't know, Moby Dick. Yeah. But yet you are reading continually and consistently a little bit every day. Mm-hmm. That's way more important than like struggling and feeling pressure to read like 50 books a year.
Yeah.
Right. So I just find that no matter how many books I read, I just want to always be actively reading something. I put on here, always be actively reading. It doesn't matter how many books that ends up being at the end of the year, just always be reading.
I like it. Yeah.
And I will always be looting. All right. Your number 1.
My number 1, not my number 1, just my first in my list.
Yeah.
It's inspired by kind of what this last year been and kind of some of the things I've done. And it's to read more smut. I'm kidding. No, my first one is to dabble some more classics, get into some more of the classics.
Dabble in the classics.
I got some, I picked up some over the last couple of months. And so I want to get into some of those and sprinkle them in maybe one a month and get more into that.
You're going to sprinkle a classic in every month? Do you know that some people take an entire year to read a classic?
Maybe.
What classics are we talking about here?
Like, we had that Mice and Men. That's a small one.
Small. Yeah, I mean, like if you're sprinkling in the short classics.
Yeah. And then build my way up from there.
Okay.
I don't know. But, it's not...
You don't sprinkle in...
I'm not trying to be an English lit major here.
Like anything that's like a Tolstoy.
No. That's not what I'm trying to do.
Moby Dick.
Yeah.
Moby Dick! Right. Do you want to sprinkle in the classics? I want to get
some more classic reading done.
Okay.
This year.
My number 2.
It's up on your docket.
Okay, so I put that I want to bundle vibes between entertainment media that I consume. Allow me to explain.
No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
So as you know, because I mentioned it, we are playing Witcher 3. It's a video game. It's a different form of media and entertainment than reading is. And I think that it's kind of a cool idea if you can take the vibe of a game like Witcher 3, which has, it's fantasy,
Medieval
it's like
fantasy.
medieval fantasy, but it takes place in an entirely different universe.
Yeah.
But if you could bundle, the vibe of that with like a book that you're reading. So when we were talking about books that we want to read in 2025 and you shared Between Two Fires,
Yeah.
I was thinking like that book kind of sounds similar in like, well, maybe not like similar, but kind of similar in vibe to Witcher 3. It'd be kind of a fun book to read while I'm playing the game. And then you have that book that I gave you that takes place in like what would be like a tombstone. No. Like
yeah.
Western town.
Oh, Bloody Newton.
Yeah, something like that, playing like Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Or anything, just like, or a show that we might be watching that kind of seems, I just want to I like the idea of bundling
That's good.
entertainment vibes.
Yeah, why not?
And I love playing video games.
Yeah,
So
feed into it.
yeah. So that was another one. I think that's kind of a weird goal.
No, it's not.
But because I've been playing this and
Yeah.
reading, I think it'd be fun.
No.
And I picked up a book by Andrzej Sapkowski, who is the writer
Of The
the
Witcher.
Witcher series.
Yeah,
but
which
it's
is-
not part of the Witcher universe. But
Still cool.
yeah, I don't know. It's just one I put down, and I think it sounds good.
All right.
Your
My
next one?
second one?
Yeah.
All right. My second one. Oh, this is like a personal goal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously it's personal, and it's definitely a goal, but I want to try to finish the Dark Tower series.
Oh, that's right.
So I've read the first two.
yes,
And there's
Stephen King.
Yeah, the Stephen King Dark Tower series. I've read the first two. I like them, but I've kind of lost the momentum. So this year I want to kind of get back onto it and try to finish it, or at least get a good chunk into the series. Because some of the books are bigger, chunkier boys, and
Right.
with some of the books I want to read this year, they are bigger and chunkier. So we'll see.
Okay.
But I do want to try to get as much of that series taken care of this year.
I
But I'm not.
completely forgot that you didn't finish that.
Yeah, I know. I got kind of sidetracked into other things. And I've been reading, other places and things.
You've been reading other books.
Yeah, I've been. Yeah, so I want to get back to that and try to knock that out this year, so that way I can.
It's funny because that did not show up in your 5 books you definitely want to read in
I know.
2025.
It was
You probably
like-
thought about it after. the
Yeah,
fact.
and another big reason is because that they're going to be coming out with a series.
Yeah.
A Netflix, I think, original series on the Dark Tower that's hopefully is going to be really good, and that.
Let's hope Netflix doesn't screw it up like
Yeah,
they did with
like-
The Witcher. My next one is going to be, I put here, consume more slowly. Listen to books at 1 time speed. Read books at the pace that feels balanced. Now, this isn't like in contrast to something I've been doing different. Like, I don't typically I listen to books on 1 time speed, and I read at a pace that's comfortable. But this is kind of also like in just everything that I do is doing it at a pace that's a little bit more slow. Like in my knitting at a slower pace. I always try to remind myself to do that. Even, considering I'm a knitting content creator, it can become hard to like do that.
Slow
You
it
kind of
down.
feel like the pressure to have a
Go,
lot going
go,
in
go.
less time. Yeah. But for reading is just consuming it at a pace that's comfortable and not feeling the pressure to try to like listen to an audiobook faster or zip through a book faster than what feels right.
Yeah.
That's just good advice for
Yeah, I will listen to audiobooks a little bit faster, but that's because sometimes the narrator I feel like is too slow.
That's different though.
Like, you
Chances
just
are
want to
you're
speed it to like where you're not like getting those long pauses between words,
Yes.
or like it's like drawn out, and so you speed it up where it kind of just sounds more normal.
Yeah, because
I'm not trying to read. I'm not speeding up to try to get through the book faster.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I did that with Moby Dick.
Yeah,
I mean,
but sometimes you'll listen to, or you'll listen to an audiobook and
Yeah.
it's just so slow. You got to speed it up a little bit, but then you go to the next book and it's on that speed, and you
Yeah.
got to slow it back
but
down.
I think that's different. Like that to
Yeah.
me, it's like it's not uncomfortable. It's almost
right.
more comfortable to
Yeah.
speed it up a little bit. You don't want to read or listen to audiobooks at 2 times speed because you just want to get it done, or
Right.
to meet some kind of like a quota that you set for yourself. Which I think, side note, this is like what 3A for me. Sub note, like
Yeah.
don't give yourself a reading quota.
Yeah.
Don't like say I want to read 50 books in a year. Just
Right.
read and then see what you did read in a year and celebrate that at that
you go.
time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Doing this BookTube and having the Patreon, and having people who actually now follow me on Goodreads,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to give better reviews or more thoughtful reviews on there. Even if I
Yes.
don't like the book or it's not my favorite book, and give more reasons to why. So I'm going to push myself to be more detailed in kind of my reviews. on Goodreads, but more specifically when I do I've been doing a pretty good job of it on the Patreon with my like
Yeah,
little
you
book
do really good
reviews.
with those individual book reviews.
But I wanted to kind of maybe translate that over into Goodreads a little bit more, maybe not the full thing, but a little bit more. So that way it gives a better understanding of the kind of the reader I am for people who are happen to following me. And also it gives me an idea of, when I go back, why did I do that kind
And
of
it's
thing.
you're providing something, to the community.
Yeah.
I think that's really good, actually. I didn't put anything like that. And I need to be better at reviewing the books that I finish, and I haven't done that very well lately. Especially when I'm more critical of a particular book. We were listening, and I can't remember his name. I want to say that he was Life on Books, the guy who was doing a similar video.
Oh, yeah.
He was talking about when somebody leaves a negative review about something, there's more of a responsibility in that particular situation to really explain why you didn't like the book.
Yeah.
Not just like the writing was bad or that
DNF
what about
after page 9?
Yeah, like you don't just say DNF after page 9 and leave it at that, or this book sucked, or it was just so bad, I have nothing good to say about it. It's like, well, say something or don't leave a review, because if it's not a constructive review, you're hurting more than helping. Not only, obviously the author, but the people who are trying to decide if they want to read this book, because one person might dislike a book that another person, one man's trash is another person's treasure or whatever. I get really frustrated reading reviews that are negative, but with no constructive criticism, because I feel like I can parse through constructive criticism to determine, well, I think I still would like this book. Or I would like this book for all the reasons this other person didn't like this book. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh, and I was scrolling through like the Instagram book thing, and I can't remember where I saw, but it was like one of those like recommended stories or reels or something, and it was like people just showing 1-star reviews for a book. I think his name is Brian Greene, is a scientist, and it's all about like string theory and quantum physics.
Okay, yeah.
But it was people leaving 1-star reviews because they thought it was too sciencey or like,
it's quantum physics. That's as sciencey as you get.
Yeah, or like just like negating what his like he is writing about string theory and like how like I don't think it's plausible kind of thing, and leaving a 1-star review. Like that doesn't work that
but at least they gave like a reason why.
Yeah, but
it's
it was very much like you're just kind of coming off as like not willing to understand why this is written that way.
I just get upset. It's like, I don't know I think it's the fact that they leave a 1-star review is one thing. It's just the lack of explanation afterwards. Like if you don't like it and it's a 1-star review, that whatever, even if I disagree, but at least explain yourself. It's easier. It's much more acceptable to leave a 5-star, 4-star review and say little, like this book was phenomenal, because people will be like, oh great, lots of people just love this book. Yeah. Explaining that, like you said, is important. But I think when you leave those negative or critical reviews, you really have to explain yourself.
You can't. Yeah, you gotta
don't just drop a 3. Don't just drop a 2-star or a 1-star and then not give any explanation. That just sucks. That just sucks for people.
That's like common courtesy to life in general.
Yes.
Be constructive with your criticism.
You don't walk up to people in the street and just slap them right in the face and then walk away. Yeah. You slap them in the face and then you explain to them why you did it.
You didn't put onions on my hamburger. All right.
So anyway, just to piggyback off of your very good one of those.
I like it.
Well, this is a good one to jump off of.
All right,
okay. I listed this as my number 2. Stop leaning so heavily on the star rating.
I was going to mention that, but yeah. Good.
Yes.
It's not one of mine.
Stop relying so much on the Goodreads star rating as like an indicator of whether or not you're going to read a book. Because now, I don't mean like don't do it at all, but I find that I have gotten to the point where when we go to the bookstore, and this is so obnoxious, so obnoxious, I see myself doing it and I try to like look from the outside. It's just, what an annoying person. But I'll like go and I'll be looking at books on the shelf, and then I pull out my phone because I see one that sounds interesting.
You want to confirm,
and I do that little like Goodreads thing where you can like use your camera to scan the book, and then it gives you the star rating. And then I use that to be like, oh, okay. Or no, like I was looking, there's a book I saw, did the thing, and it came up with like a 3.1 star rating. Now, I avoid books like that.
I know.
Because it's just not a great book. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Right. But
listen, but what it does is it slows down my experience at the bookstore. It kind of takes away from the experience and the feeling of discovery. Yeah. And I feel like what you need to do is you need to decide if you're going to read a book based on what's provided to you on the book. Yeah. But then, like, I don't know, like, I really do want to stop worrying about the star rating so much, but at the same time, it's like product reviews. Yeah. You know, you kind of want to know that this is going to be something you don't want to just buy a book and then
Right.
take it home and then realize a third of the way through that this book stinks.
Yeah.
Because then what do you do?
Well,
Like,
it's
it feels
crazy,
weird
but
to return it.
sometimes those star ratings that are in those like 3.4, 3.6, 3.8, they're like mixed reviews. So like there's people who
Yes.
really love it, people who just were confused by it, and so
Yes.
then you get that. That's why they drop. But also then you gotta sometimes have to look at how many people have reviewed the book.
Right. You do have
'Cause
to
then
kind
it's
of
like a scale. Like
right.
if even for books that are like 4 point, whatever,
If it's few people
it's a
reviewing
million
it.
people. Sometimes that's I don't know.
Well, the larger the pool of people
The better-
rating and the higher the
more-
number,
yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
The smaller, it doesn't mean it's not good. It just means it's less reliable.
Right.
But that's
Yeah.
like that, all that kind of stuff. It gets in the way.
Because you gotta, it's gotta be your vibe. You gotta.
It has
I
to
like to try
be-
to read the first couple pages while I'm there.
Yes, I used to
and
do
see if
that.
I pick up. That's right. We went to the bookstore today, and I got 2
Yes.
books, and one I had gone back to, and I
Mm-hmm.
looked at, and I was like, oh, but I wasn't ready to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And this time I was like, I like the way it's writing, so I got it. And then I was just browsing around, found another one,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I didn't even look at anything.
See,
just-
you're so good about that, and I just need to let go. I think my personality kind of comes into play a little bit too, because I just want to know that it's
Yeah.
going to be a good choice. But yeah, like I need to not lean so heavily on those star ratings
hard.
because it is hard. And you want to know that the book you bought is, or like pull it up, check out how people feel about it, see the star rating, but before you just say, I'm going to leave it because it's a 3.2 star
Yeah.
rating, read a couple of the reviews, because sometimes a person's review will be like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
maybe this is enough. I don't know. What are your thoughts about that? I need to let go a little bit.
Well, I mean, also like because there's Goodreads, but people, there's other apps out there like
Mm-hmm.
Storygraphs. Like I've said a couple times, I've read some books based on the survey they do.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Goodreads on some of the ones, like I did a coin for the ferryman. I think it's a 3.4.
Yeah, that's right. It was a
But I
lower
liked it
ranked.
more than that, and so.
But maybe there were fewer reviews.
There was only
You're bound to
500
get
something
negative
reviews. Yeah.
so those are going to bring the average down, right?
Yeah.
It's funny too, because I got Mexican Gothic, haven't read it yet, heard that book stinks.
But other people love
I
it.
keep hearing the book is not good.
Yeah, but other people are like, yeah, if you like this.
Well, people are
works
saying that because it's a similar like
Vibe
that
check.
people are like kind of disappointed in it. So I have it over there on my shelf, and I feel like if I had just, I don't know,
Gotta close your ears.
it's your turn.
All right, fourth. I don't typically do this.
Okay.
I don't think I didn't finish a book. Every book I started this year, I finished.
Right.
Before I started this, I would lose momentum on
Right.
books, and then I would just, I'm not in the mood anymore, and I would put it away
Right.
and be like 3/4 the way done. I was enjoying it, but because I wasn't focused, I wasn't making myself focus on reading, like,
Right.
and allowing myself to be distracted on other things like television or, my phone or whatever, instead of building the habit of reading in my downtime. Those books would often get, forgotten. And there's 2 over on the shelf right now that we still have that I want to finish because
Where are they?
I'll be right.
Grab them.
And this one I've had forever.
Yes,
I got this. I think before
No, I
maybe when we
remember when
first
you got
started
it.
dating. This is the biography of Houdini, and this not only talks about him as the magician, but like goes through his life from like from birth till like death.
Didn't it also talk about him as like a spiritualist?
No,
Was it
well,
good
he's
for
not
that?
a spiritual. He's
He was
anti-spiritual.
like anti-spiritualism.
Because he didn't like he knew they were conning people, and he didn't like that, so he came up with tests, and he would go to spiritualists and like do this just to prove them wrong. I've gotten through like 3/4 of that book, but I never finished it, so I feel bad, and I want to go back and finish it. And then same thing with this one.
Oh, this is the one about Ted Williams.
Yeah, Ted Williams, The Kid, The Immortal Life. I've read. I think there might be even.
I think he kind of looks like Ted Williams.
Yeah. I think I've read about half of this, but he's he's one of the best baseball players or best baseball hitters to ever play. And he plays for my favorite team, the Red Sox, or played for my favorite team, the Red Sox. But his story and his upbringing is amazing and impactful. And he served in 2 wars during his baseball career. And so the records and the things he was able to accomplish while missing out on a bunch of seasons that he could have played is also impressive. So one of my goals is to finish an unfinished book. And so it's going to be one of these this year, I think.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
good.
So 2 books.
Cool. That's a great one, babe.
Yeah,
Maybe
thank you.
then maybe I'll piggyback off of you this year and finish Moby Dick finally. Okay, so this is like a weird. I don't know how I feel about this, but something was telling me that maybe this is a good idea, and that is to read one book at a time.
Oh.
So I was on this kick when we first started this,
Yeah.
where I was having like a morning coffee book and a nighttime book, 2 books, and trying to read 2 books at one time, and I am able to do it, and I'm able to do it happily. But I just wonder why. Why do I need to do that? You know, I feel like, I mean, I guess if it's because you were trying to read more books.
I think it was, I think we
were
well,
just-
I still do it, but I think it was, we both decided to do it to just try to get us in the practice of reading and not being on our phone as often.
Yeah, and I also think it was because we just were trying to read more books too.
Yeah.
Because if you don't want to be on your phone, you can just continue reading a book
Yeah,
and then
that's
read
true.
a new book. But reading one book at a time, that's not including an audiobook. And having an audiobook and an actual physical copy of a book is fine.
Yeah.
But reading one book at a time, I just feel like it helps to kind of emphasize slowing down, not so much quality over quantity in terms of like my experience.
All right.
Being a monogamous reader, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a monogamous knitter.
No.
I have more than one project going at one time. But
Nothing wrong with that.
and maybe that, you know, maybe that'll change and I'll have a couple books going. Like, you know, because we have our book club book and then I have I don't know. I would like to make an effort.
But you can maybe do it where like one day you read one only and
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, where you're not trying to read two
Or
different
like
books.
like in the same.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still worried. It's a work in progress there. But,
But I like
it's
it.
thought provoking.
No, yeah.
Something to consider.
Yeah.
You know.
Cool.
But yeah, so I don't know. Did you do your fifth?
I have one more.
One more. Go
All
ahead
right.
and do it.
My 5th is kind of similar in to finish an unfinished book is to revisit a favorite book I've had.
yeah,
And so I think I
reread.
mentioned in a couple episodes back where our top 5, I want to kind of maybe make never wear like a yearly thing.
Yeah.
Do that with like, you know, other books. Oftentimes I find that I finish a book, I'm like, I did it, I'm done. And then I don't need to go back to it. But then
Yeah,
I
sure.
realize if you know, the longer it goes, the less you can retain.
Right.
But now that I've gotten into reading so much now, and I've experienced some really good like bangers of books
Yeah.
that I want to like make sure I kind of can touch it, like at movies you like, right?
Or
We would
video
rewatch a
games that you
movie,
play
yeah.
through again. That's
And
an
so I think,
investment.
you know, I don't think I've ever really had books like that because nonfiction,
Nah.
you know,
I can see where that
sometimes
would be like-
it's hard, but you know, I would reread The Devil in the White City, I think, because there's some details that are fuzzy
Mm-hmm.
there from my memory. But books like Neverwhere, Project Hail Mary comes to mind.
Yeah, but would you reread them because there's details that are fuzzy, or would you
No,
reread them
just to-
because you
to
want to just
re-experience
immerse
it.
yourself
Yeah.
back in the universe or whatever?
And then to kind of also, I think would be good is to like, as a way to do it without feeling like is what one of our patrons said that they're joining in with the Night Circus book club,
Right.
but they had already read it like 2 years prior, and they're gonna listen to it this time to be able to like, hey, what is the different voice? How do they make the character sound or this
Right.
thing? So I'm gonna
That's
try to do that at least once this year, to read a book I've already read
Right.
that I've enjoyed to read, not one I've already read to finish or
Sure.
one I've already read to try to get a better feeling about it.
I think we were talking about that, like what the patron said about
Mm.
the different perspectives. Another thing too is like reading. So when we replay video games, it's because you want to be re-immersed in that world. You want to feel the world and get back into the story and just experience it again, and not necessarily because you've forgotten elements of it.
Yeah.
Like you invariably you're going to forget
wanna-
things, and so you'll experience those fresh, which is awesome. But that's kind of just like a byproduct of the experience. But
Yeah.
I think like if you're going to reread a nonfiction book because you can't remember everything in it, then that's one thing. But I feel like it's important not to try to like remember every single thing that you read. Just let it sink in how it's going to sink in, but yet like immerse yourself in it and experience it. And so rereading for the purpose of like getting back into that world again. I said that about One Dark Window. I want to get back into it again. Or the Witcher books.
Yeah.
And you know, we were talking about the perspective thing. I was thinking this time I maybe would like to read the physical copies.
Oh yeah, because you listened to them.
Because I listened to the audiobooks last time. So
yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah, I think those are great.
Cool. I like some of yours. I think I might adopt
Yeah, same.
one or two of yours.
And none of those were like, we want to read 115
No.
books this year, or
Quality experiences,
Yeah.
content, books.
and I think a
over
lot of people are
quantity.
moving that way.
I think so too. And I think that, I think people are fed up with like the amount of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I think they're kind of over it, and they're over not only doing it, but they're over seeing it put in front of them.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important to kind of continue to emphasize the importance of quality over
Right.
quantity
Right,
in
which-
everything.
I still did set just to, all
Yeah.
all cards on the table. I did set my reading goal on
Mm-hmm.
my reading apps, Goodreads, Storygrouse, and hardcover, just at 50. Even though
I mean,
went-
that's a lot of books for an
no, I know,
average
but I
person.
went way more than that this year, and I only
You read more than 50?
yeah
How many did you read?
68. But
That's a lot.
I started in March, April, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
So I just set it 50, thinking that's
and this is a combination of like audiobooks in the car,
Car.
reading a physical book at home,
book
and
club books.
book club books. Yeah, I'm not gonna set a goal
There you go.
because I just feel like I'll just read. I'll just always be reading, and whatever
Always
that
be
ends up being
looting.
at the end of the year, then that's what it is. And just because I don't know, I just think that like having like setting a goal of how many, I don't know what it is. There's just so much, like there's so much about people like do this, make sure you do this many of something.
Right. Yeah.
Or this, everybody's being judged by like how many of something they can do or how many books they can read or like whatever.
I get you.
And so I just,
No.
that's for me personally, it's just always be reading.
Something.
Yeah. And also too, the book club is nice because it helps to kind of pace out, at least in one particular aspect, pace out one book that you
Yeah.
complete.
Speaking of which,
The Patreon book club
is going to be live
on when?
on next Saturday.
Next Saturday. That's
the
right.
11th.
That's right. Next Saturday, the 11th, we're going live, baby, over on
So
Patreon.
if you want to be a part of that,
Yep.
join up.
And it's going to be big discussions, not big discussion. It's going to be about the book. We're
Yeah.
going to talk about questions that readers over on the Patreon have, our own questions, thoughts, all of that kind of stuff. It's much more focused on the book this time, whereas the first one was just kind of a fun holiday
Yeah.
festive.
Yeah, get it started,
live.
kick it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But-
we'll get it. But patrons, I'll have something over there, kind of
Yeah.
letting you know what we are going to expect and what to do. So check that out if you want to become a part of it. Still time.
Yeah.
You can join up.
And we'll be doing another update video of just our reading update soon too, and we'll talk more about it then as well. But let us know what your reading goals are, or whether they're goals or just things you want to think about more in the new year. Let us
What
know.
we'd like to see more
down
out
below.
of the reading.
Yeah, what would
community.
you like to see more out of the reading community as it is here on like YouTube and social media? Or what are you tired of seeing? Or I don't know. Just I think it's good to have that discussion.
For sure.
But in the meantime, that is it for us. If you're gonna stick around for the after show, which is over on Patreon, it's we're gonna be figuring out which of these book related stickers that we
Put
got.
all Mikey here.
You see the book related stickers? We're gonna put a sticker on Mikey, the microphone,
Yeah.
right there. Doesn't that sound like a blast? Stick around in the after show to figure out which one
Plus
we
more.
decide.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus-
But
plus
if you like
more.
this and
Give
you
it a
just
thumbs up.
enjoyed it, thumbs it up, subscribe it,
Yep.
share it.
All the good stuff.
Yeah.
Head over to Patreon, check us out over there,
Yeah.
and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.